You see this? It may look like a book, but it's more like a time bomb. And when it exploded into print, it ignited a firestorm among women. The author of Who Stole Feminism? How Women Have Betrayed Women has been called the biggest traitor since Benedict Arnold. As Bernard Goldberg reports, she's not only attacking a message you've heard many times before, she's also blaming the messenger, us. Bernie?
Connie, let me ask you a question. Do you believe everything you hear on the news? I'm afraid you're right. If you live in America, you can't escape it. All that news about how bad things are for women. It's in the newspapers all the time, and it's on TV. Listen to this shocking statement from Patricia Ireland, the president of the National Organization for Women.
In fact, battery of pregnant women is the #1 cause of birth defects in this country.
And maybe you caught the Ann Landers column about how 150,000 American women die each year by starving themselves, victims of anorexia and bulimia, and of a society that forces women to be thin or be rejected. And then there's Super Bowl Sunday. Feminists in California told us, in these words, there is significant anecdotal evidence that Super Bowl Sunday is the biggest day of the year for domestic violence against women. Newspapers around the country picked up the story. So did elected officials. Listen to Los Angeles District Attorney Gil Garcetti.
All I know is the statistics are there. On Super Bowl day, there is a spike. Domestic violence goes up tremendously. Is it because of the drinking, of the aggressiveness? I don't know. I don't care. All I know is it's a fact and we want to stop it.
It's outrageous that battering is the #1 cause of birth defects in America, that so many women are dying because they think they have to look thin for men, that on Super Bowl Sunday, men go wild and beat up their wives in record numbers. It's outrageous, all right, because it's not true. Even though you've read those stories in the newspapers and seen them on TV, they're bogus. All those facts, it turns out, are really fiction.
Professor Sommers joins us. Christina Hoff Sommers is
Christina Hoff Sommers is a professor at Clark University in Massachusetts and the author of a new book, Who Stole Feminism?
That's basically what I've done, is blown the whistle on the phony research, the male bashing.
She says radical feminists are fighting a gender war.
All it is gender propaganda.
We will fight back!
And what better way to get recruits? Phony numbers that make it look as though women are under siege in an oppressive, male-dominated America.
Right now, we are in the grip of a kind of paranoia about masculinity. Many women on the more extreme wing of the feminist movement are getting their way. They're convincing a large number of people that maleness and masculinity are synonymous with violence, cruelty, and savagery. Well, this is a form of gender bigotry. There are some men that are batterers. There are some men who starve women to death, I suppose, but to make that into the norm and to act as though that's the typical American male, this kind of monstrous predator, seems to me to be very unfortunate. But what's amazing is that no one's questioning it.
But what about that interview with Patricia Ireland? Listen again to what she said about men beating up pregnant women.
Battery of pregnant women is the #1 cause of birth defects in this country.
Time magazine ran the story and quoted a March of Dimes study as its source. The Boston Globe ran the story. So did the Chicago Tribune. And so did a lot of other newspapers. Men beating up pregnant women is now responsible for more birth defects than all other causes combined.
Completely false. It was in Time magazine. Senators' offices were calling, governors. Everyone wanted the study. It doesn't exist.
She's right. The March of Dimes says there is no study. None. The National Organization for Women and everyone else got the story wrong after someone, somehow, got a bunch of numbers mixed up. Time magazine ran a correction. 1 year later, we've seen the number 150,000 women, 150,000 die each year from starving themselves, anorexia.
The correct figure is, according to the Center for Vital Statistics, is fewer than 100. In 1991, the figure was 54.
It wasn't just Ann Landers. Newspapers all over the country ran the phony statistic. How could it happen? Here's how. The American Anorexia and Bulimia Association has estimated that 150,000 women suffer from the disease. Suffer, not die. But a feminist scholar at Cornell wrote a book, and suffer somehow became dead. Gloria Steinem also wrote a book, and she also got it wrong. Another feminist, Naomi Wolf, wrote The Beauty Myth, and she also said 150,000 women were dying each year by starving themselves because of men. Her publisher took the bogus number out of later editions of the book. But when you think about it, the 150,000 statistic is so outrageous, how could anyone have ever believed it?
It's 3,000 women a week, they're claiming, are falling. If this were true, and the other thing is that the young women most prone to anorexia are upper middle class, overachieving white girls. So in places they congregate, like Wellesley College, at Wellesley College graduation, you would need to have ambulances on hand the way you do at major sports events.
And what about the feminist claim that Super Bowl Sunday is the biggest day of the year for domestic violence?
I didn't think you'd go to jail for hitting your wife.
NBC even ran this public service announcement during the Super Bowl. Super Bowl Sunday, women in America are in more danger than any other single day of the year because guys watching the games get a little crazy and beat them up. You've heard this?
Absolutely.
Tell me about the story.
Another hoax.
Super Bowl Sunday is not more dangerous to women?
Than any other day of the year. And football fans, despite what we hear, sports fans, football fans are no more likely to beat their wives than any other group.
How could all these things be false?
No one's checking facts when it comes to feminist advocacy statistics, when it comes to statistics on women's victimization. The people we rely on to get it right, the journalists, the fact checkers, the editors, congressmen, congresswomen, they're all asleep at the wheel.
It gets in because you and I and our colleagues like this kind of information. It's interesting, it's sexy, it's bizarre, it's almost unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
Cynthia Crossan is an editor at the Wall Street Journal who has just written a book about the numbers we hear every day. It's called Tainted Truth.
Tainted truth is facts, numbers usually, that have been produced by somebody who has a direct stake in the outcome. It can be a company trying to sell a product. It can be feminists trying to sell their point of view. It can be environmentalists. It's used by many different commercial, social, political groups.
Are they trying to fool us?
They are trying to fool us. They're trying to manipulate us. They're trying to make us believe something because they think it'll be better for us if we do.
And what about this study? A 1993 report by the Commonwealth Fund that said 40% of all American women are severely depressed at least once a week. That's like almost half the women in America are in severe depression on any given week? Right. Is that true?
No. They asked women a series of questions. A high percentage, over 80%, said that they'd felt very good that week, but a small percentage had admitted to having crying spells, or some admitted to having periods where they felt blue, and they added it all up and decided almost half of women are basket cases.
I think the implication is that somehow there's some sort of conspiracy by feminists to put out falsehoods, and that could not be farther from the truth. We want the truth out there.
Gloria Allred, Los Angeles lawyer and longtime feminist, says Christina Hoff Sommers is missing the point. The danger is not phony statistics, but that Americans will think there are no real problems for women.
We're not just talking about statistics. We're talking about survival. We're talking about women's lives. We're talking about women being hurt. We're talking about women sometimes getting punched, bruised, and seriously harmed. And that's what I think that we should remember when we're talking about statistics, that these are real human beings. These are our daughters.
Still, this raises one big question. If there's so much misleading information out there, why do so many journalists pass it on to people like you?
Probably every magazine or every news organization has someone that's a little carried away with the feminist cause, so he or she sees there's an opportunity to do the right thing.
It's a nice thing to put in the first sentence of a story. Put that on the front page or make it your lead story. And you're guaranteed to draw a lot of readers or viewers in with that.
Even if it isn't true?
Even if it isn't true.
You're not suggesting that newspapers and magazines and television would actually put a story on to sell papers and boost ratings, are you?
It happens all the time. It happens every day.
But it's a big mistake, and the worst thing about it is it doesn't help women. Women are not helped by lies. We are not helped by untruths, by propaganda.
For the record, Christina Sommers is not accusing feminists or the press of deliberately lying, just being far too eager to believe preposterous numbers that paint women as victims and men as oppressors.
Bernie, we received a lot of complaints about this story even before it was on. In fact, Gloria Steinem called me and she said that Sommers based her statistics on anorexia and bulimia on death certificates. And it's widely known that death certificates do not state anorexia and bulimia in most cases as the cause of death.
Right. Connie, I wanted to interview Gloria Steinem for this report, but she flatly refused. She is, however, taking her inflated anorexia statistic out of the next printing of her book. We also heard from the feminist writer Naomi Wolf. She also called to complain about Sommers' book. And we just received this fax from Patricia Ireland, the president of NOW, complaining about Sommers and about the media, saying all this quibbling about statistics is doing women an enormous disservice.
But, you know, Bernie, when Sommers says this is false and that's false, she leaves you with the impression that she doesn't think these problems are serious.
No, not. She says that's absolutely not so. She describes herself as a feminist, to which her critics respond with friends like that, who needs enemies.
All right, thank you, Bernie.